So, hello, and thank you for joining me again for a sixth live Q&A session. So, in case we haven't met, my name is Jean, and I coordinate the marketing at John Packer. I'm delighted you could join me at my home in Taunton, where I live with 2 kids, dog, and husband. I thought I'd give them a mention tonight, as if all is going well, they're silent features in these sessions. My dog Benny is generally always asleep at my feet. For once, my children go to bed at a reasonable hour with the reward that they can watch tonight back in the morning, and my husband watches quietly from the front room. Now, when Alex, the director of Barnes & Mullins and UK supplier of Yanagisawa saxes, suggested Snake Davis as a guest, my husband, who grew up in York, was like, Snake Davis from Zoot and the Roots. I saw them in the late 80s. In fact, I think I bought their album. It's great to have that connection, and then also the happy discovery that Snake had featured in so many of the hits in the Now That's What I Call Music albums of my youth, Lisa Stansfield, People, and that solo on Take That's a Million Love Songs. In fact, Snake's list of credits includes pretty much anyone who is anyone in popular music over the last 30 years. George Michael, Tina Turner, Cher, Beyonce, Kylie, Soul to Soul, Pet Shop Boys, Robert Palmer, Sting, Eurythmics, Primal Scream, Tom Jones, Ray Charles, Paul McCartney, the list goes on. In appearance and with his distinctive tone, I swear Snake hasn't aged, but I certainly have. So I'm looking forward to learning more about those years and so much more. In the lead up to tonight, Snake sent me a copy of his latest album, Time Stands Still. And given that I'm only in the second week of the school holidays, it was a tonic. Recommended listening, everyone. Thank you to everyone that sent in questions. It's going to be a really interesting and varied discussion. Do feel free to ask more questions in the toolbar at the bottom of Zoom or on Facebook. I will be monitoring questions and I will squeeze what I can in. So without further ado, let me present Snake.
Hello, everybody. I'm here in North Lincolnshire.
Glad you could join us.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I'm pleased to. Yeah. And I'm pleased I can hear you and see you. It's always great when the tech works.
I thought I'd choose some animal print tonight because of Snake. I don't have any snake skin, but this was the best that I could do. So
it's very good. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Great stuff. So, well, should we do a bit of playing, or do you want to start with some questions?
Oh, I get to choose. I'll play then.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Great.
I played.
Wow. Crikey, so much control. That's amazing. Fantastic. I think we're going to have lots of questions about how you managed to do that and embody so much emotion and everything. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah,
wow. Okay. So, well, right, we're going to start from the beginning, like we like to, about sort of how you got into the saxophone. what age you were when you started, and inspirational figures, musical families. So specifically, John Charles wanted to know how old you were when you started playing the sax. Yeah, so we'll start with that one.
Okay, so I was pretty late to the saxophone. I was 19 years old. It was singing that got me into music in primary school. I grew up in South Wales, and music was pretty important down there. And I was found to have a good singing voice and encouraged. I could get the first influential person in my life was my primary school teacher, Mrs. Thomas, who used to sit at the piano playing Under the Linden Tree and things like that while I stayed behind after school singing. And I went from vocals to piano, the kind of usual enforced piano lessons. Me and my little bro both were forced to go and learn piano. I didn't mind it, but I didn't love it.
Okay.
And I was just, please can I learn guitar? Please can I learn guitar? So I taught myself guitar probably from the age of 12 or 13. And then through my teens, I sang and played guitar. I never thought about music as a profession. But then I was 18, I picked a flute up. Somebody lent me one. And I really liked that, but it wasn't loud enough. And I was into soul music and a bit of punk and funk at the time. So somebody said to me, you need a saxophone. And a light bulb went on in my head. And I went out and got a sax, and my life changed almost immediately. Other influential people, it's all teachers, really. It's Christine Hughes, who taught me flute in Liverpool. I was at university in Liverpool doing an arts degree, but I was learning flute from Christine, who was in one of the orchestras, the Halley, I think. And Albie Donnelly was in a soul band. He taught me sax. And I remember those lessons, with great pleasure and joy. And there's one other teacher in Manchester, a guy called Paul Phillips. I only ever had one lesson from him, but that may crop up today. And shall I carry on with a bit of musical history, just a little bit, or move sideways? Or?
Yeah, we can do. We can certainly move a little bit towards. So your fave. Hang on. So you said well, tips for young players. Well, no, maybe you carry on. You carry on. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll carry on with my music.
I think the signal's just going a little bit iffy. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's a bit of a crackle. We talked about crackles. We shouldn't have talked about crackles, should we? But I can hear you.
The curse. Yeah.
I went to Leeds College of Music, but didn't stay there long enough to qualify because I got offered a job on the cruise boats. And really, I wasn't that lucky with individual sax tuition at college. I had a lovely guy, but he wasn't that good a teacher, or something went wrong, And then I went on the cruise boats. That was my first job. I was about 21, 22. And then I jumped ship at the end in New York and got lessons from a couple of great teachers there. And then I dived into being a professional player. Not that I earned much for the first few years, but that was it. So I was up and running. And John also wanted tips for young players, I think, didn't he?
Yes, yeah, I think he did, yes.
Okay, obviously, I mean, most of these questions, because Jean has kindly prompted me on a few that are coming up, just about every single question could occupy our entire hour or hour and a half. So some of them, it'll seem like I'm rushing through them, but I have to. So I'm just going to give you the most important things. So I'm going to give 2 tips for young players. And one is to be super, super, super aware of your body, your posture, your balance, whether you're relaxed, and your breathing. Obviously, it seems obvious, but it's a lifelong study, is to breathe well and to breathe low, and using the air well. It's more important than the instrument. Much so we love our saxophones, our bodies are so much more important. So think about that every day. And number 2, I would say aim to do at least half of your music by ear. So memorizing tunes, and just working them out from memory or from listening to somebody do them. Just bypass the dots sometimes, and your scales and studies, as soon as you can learn them and play them without the sheet music, then do that, and start improvising straight away. Just dive in and do a bit. So that's that. my top
Great
tips.
stuff. Lovely. Top tips. As we're moving through those questions, then, obviously, so you do play flute as well, and a wide selection of flutes. But which is your favourite instrument to play?
My very favourite is the tenor sax, which I kicked off with a tune of mine called The Waiting. This is the alto sax I've got around my neck, and that was the tenor. And I accidentally got an alto when I started because they looked so big in the shop when I went in. But as soon as I could save up my pocket money and or my student fees or whatever they were, I went and got a tenor. And if I could only keep one, I would keep the tenor.
Great stuff. Lovely.
I love
Yes, I'm sure you do, definitely. So Jane, who's a big fan, she's I think she's commented on your playing, and she's often takes part in our sessions. She wanted to know that how you came to play with bands such as the Arrhythmics, and yeah. So
yeah, I mean, by accident, really. The way it went with me is that as I started getting okay at playing and playing live a lot, then I played with various combinations of musicians, as we most do, and you get to know more people, and then people will recommend you for things, and somebody will say, we're putting a band together, need a sax, and somebody else will go, get old Snakey in. And things happen accidentally and randomly, so all I ever wanted to do was get good and be in a band. Not a posh band, and I never thought about earning loads of money. And all those things just came along, and it would always be because somebody'd recommended me. Or the best thing is when two people recommend you, and then the client.
that's
then they go, well, this guy must be good. But yeah, always accidentally.
got to be good.
I never saw
Yeah.
Yep, that's that one really. And it was a long time, before I started.
Well, I think it must be testament to how good a musician and how hard you work. That yeah, well, it's clearly working. It keeps on saying that my internet is unstable. I'm hoping everything is okay from everybody else's perspective. I think we're quite busy on the chat. I don't know if that's having any impact on my internet, but it's great to get your comments. Thank you. Right, I'll keep on going. So what has been the most challenging aspect of playing the saxophone?
Okay, back to breathing again, really. I think using the air well, and I'm still in the process of trying to breathe better and work in harmony with my body, and that is definitely the biggest challenge. And it seems like a dark art. We'll talk about it a lot this evening, I'm sure, but it seemed to take a long time before I really felt this was part of me and that the air was doing its works. That's definitely the biggest challenge.
It's definitely, yeah. When you play, it doesn't sound like there's no resistance really. It just is entirely. Interestingly, is that how you got your nickname, Snake? Because I'm surprised that was a question that didn't come up.
I know it didn't come up, but you just asked it.
Yeah.
When I was the nickname came from my best buddy. Is still my best buddy, I think. Dave, are you out there? You still love me? His girlfriend at Leeds College of Music, she said one night when we were all in a bar, I was playing, they were drinking, and she said, "Oh, you look just like a snake when you play," And Dave said, "Stage name, yes, have it." And you sort of weave your way around the melody too. It's perfect for you. And I went, "Yeah, okay, I am Snake."
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
Snake was born.
Yeah. Lovely. So, right, moving on. Andrew Ford said he knows that you spend a lot of time in Japan. He's never been, unfortunately, but what is it about Japan that makes it so special for you?
Okay, well, this is a sort of twofold answer. I mean, partly it's just the way that my career has gone, and there's a particular rock star in Japan, Mr. Eikichi Ozawa, and he calls me over quite regularly. I've been at his bidding, I've been at least 20 times, and then I've been over with Swing Out Sister and with Lisa Stansfield. And so it's partly just circumstances that I keep getting asked back, but also I fell in love with the place. It's so fascinating. the culture, the food, and the I love Japanese gardens and wandering around the Buddhist temples and the Shinto temples, and learning about Japanese history. And the people are great, and the scenery is great. And I play this thing. It's called the shakuhachi. It's an end-blown bamboo flute. Very
It's beautiful.
very basic, very old, very difficult instrument. And all my teachers are there. I have 3 teachers in Tokyo, so it just works out absolutely brilliantly. And Sally and my youngster Joseph and my other kids have been, and they fell in love with it as well. So we go on holiday there as well.
How often do you go?
Well, I would have gone twice this year, but I haven't gone at all, and
Yeah.
I won't be going. So I think it's probably averaged at once a year for 20 years or 25 years, but some years it's twice, and then there might be a year where I don't go. But some of the tours, they used to be really long, like 4 months, which is very long to be away from home.
Mm.
But so I've spent at least 3 years of my life there if you added all the toury bits together.
And so was that where, did you change, or was that where you started composing sort of your meditation music then after being in Japan?
I think I was at it really before I went to Japan. I've always loved, I mean, I love a good old soul tune, and I love rocking out, but mostly I love playing beautiful melodies, and I go for the softer sounds, and that's what's led me to the wooden flutes, and probably what led me to the sax in the beginning, because it's such a sensual, sensuous, vocal sound, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So I was writing sort of moody melodies even before I went to Japan.
Oh, Rachel would love to hear you play the flute, the flute. I'm sorry, I'm going to try and pronounce it. I need to work on my pronunciation of that.
Quick burst on the shakuhachi.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I must have heard that flute on the Time Stand Still album, and I just felt my shoulders just go. I'm second week in the school holidays, and it definitely.
I was really pleased that when you sent me that comment that it had really been a tonic, because I mean it's pure fluke that album landed just almost exactly the same as COVID-19, and it just turned out to be, for once I got my timing right, a real these times.
Yeah,
it just does
definitely.
help you go like that, you know. And people are doing their yoga to it and falling asleep to it. It's just what I wanted.
Definitely. Well, so recommended. Everybody must, especially if you've got children in the summer holidays, or wherever you need to wind down. Definitely. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, what's so beautiful about this is also is the tone. So I think we'll start moving towards our tone questions, because we've got a good selection there. Now, is this a time to do a bit more playing, or how do you feel?
Yes, why not? Why not? Yeah. So what haven't I played? I'll play the tenor later on. So why don't I play some soprano? And I'm going to kind of preempt a question that came in. We've had questions flying in at the last minute, haven't we, Jean?
Yeah. I was like, oh no, not another one.
And one of them was about getting low notes cleanly and softly on the tenor sax, which is a massive challenge. So I've got a piece which I was stitching together yesterday when we were chatting, and it's Fauré's Pavan. And what I did is record, I sort of wrote out an approximation of the bass line or the cello line, and put it on the tenor. I pre-recorded that, and I'm going to play the soprano over the top. But the tenor part is much harder, and if you listen to it, it's going boom, bam, bim, bam, boom, bah. It's all over the flipping place. And that's exactly what we'll talk about when we get to that question. So I'll play a bit of it, unless I get carried away and do it all of it.
I'm sure they'll enjoy it. By the way, right, okay, I'm going to
Oh, I forgot how I ended it.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's lovely. Really,
The other
really
guy got to
lovely.
the end first.
I think it must be good play along with yourself though, because you know how you'd probably play exactly the same every time. Perhaps with the other part.
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, I would have listened a few more times to that, because the other guy was moving about a bit, and and it's actually easier if on a live stream. I've been doing a lot of live streaming, and if I did it on a live, well, actually, I did do it on a live stream, so I could actually see my other self, and you get a
Okay.
bit of an idea where he's going.
So there's snaky. Yeah. Oh, lovely. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. That was lovely. Really, really, really great. So tone. This has led us very nicely into this tone discussions. Lucy wanted to know, how do you get your tone? Is it through the way that you breathe into the instrument or read the mouthpiece, etc.?
Okay, well, it's breathing for sure. We've said that. I've said, and I know you'd agree, because
Yep.
it's so massively important. So it is a lot to do with the breath and the air. It's almost nothing to do with reeds or mouthpieces, or the instrument. I mean, it is lovely. We'll talk about gear, I'm sure, because the gear is beautiful and wonderful, and it's great to have the best instrument that you can afford, and the horn of your dreams. And it's great to have probably a better mouthpiece than the one that came with, for example, a student model, and switch between reeds and find what suits you. But if you put me on, well, I was thinking actually that, if you listen to something I did 20 years ago, everything would be different. The sax, the make of the sax, the reeds, the mouthpiece, but I pretty much sound the same. So
Yeah, you do still sound just as wonderful as you did then. It's your own, your very unique sound,
I
definitely.
was talking with a trumpet player friend about this, Johnny Thurkel, amazing trumpet player, and he's just switched trumpets from the one that he played for 40 years. It bought for 200 quid just before I met him in music college, and so he got this brand new trumpet especially made for him, and he said, Snakey was amazing. Within 2 weeks, I just sounded like I've always sounded, and I thought that is it's true. So, so the answer to how I get my tone is really the same as Andy asked, what's the best tip for improving your tone? And Jill asked, what would be a biggest tip for a beginner struggling with tone? So all the same questions. And so once again, we could spend a whole weekend on this, or a whole week down in Spain or something, but we just
We should talk about that.
minutes on it. And so for me, the biggest tip I could give to people who are a few years back down the line and wanting to sound better would be to use vocals, to use singing. And it has nothing to do with whether you can, well, whether you think you're any good at singing or not. We can all sing. We can all go, da 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 da, and it's not about being an excellent singer. It's about how vocal the sax is and copying what happens when we sing. So use a vocal sound which is big and warm and wide, like a whoa or a woo, and take a note somewhere in the middle of the instrument, all safe and lovely. Middle C, A on the alto, D on the tenor, and just tickle it to get the note. There it is. Whoa, woo. So something, and so although you don't have to be a great singer, you have to not grasp your throat or make a thin sound. You have to make a big warm sound, like you're misting the window. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And think about that in your head and do everything the same except you get a sax in your mouth. And just like magic, it makes you sound better. And then Carl asked, he said he's only been playing 15 months. Any tips on improving the upper register? That's a really common question, especially with the alto, because it can start to sound a bit thin and weedy and sorry for itself, and possibly even the intonation will start to slip when you go up. And easy for me to say, but hard to fix. But it's nearly always because you're squeezing too much and not supporting it from down below. So that same technique is absolutely brilliant. So let's go a bit lower because it's sending us into the falsetto. If we go to F, F, do, whoa, whoa, and then do the octave, whoa, and make sure you don't pitch it when you go up. Whoa, you don't want that. You want everything wide and open. Whoa, and if you're out of tune, doesn't matter. It's the sensation of it, and then do exactly that on the instrument. And don't move anything there. Don't change anything there. Yeah. And there's a little guy down there shoveling coal on to support the sound when it goes up. And use the mirror. And if you see yourself, I don't know how close I can get, but you want to go. That's a very cruel impression of what happens when we're youngsters, or not youngsters, when we're just a few months into it. You know, it's scary and frightening, and often fails that top register. So we try too hard. We go instead of just going like that. So that's absolutely
great advice.
That's absolutely my top tip, and keeping as loose as possible. The mirror is your friend. Get your face near a mirror, and you can see if you're going. You can see, and don't do it. Just stop. Do it all from there.
Just don't do it.
Easy for me to say, and hard to do, but.
Oh, that's great. Really great.
Okay. I mean, there was a kind of associated question I thought, which is, for those students who are already. Oh, you okay? Are we struggling? No. For students who are already sounding good, they've got a good fundamental tone. Then it's
it's just gone unstable again. But I think I think it's me, not you.
Okay.
It's my Wi-Fi, I think. Sorry.
Yeah. How's everybody out there? Can you hear what we're on about?
Yeah, they can hear you. Yeah, I think they can hear you. I think it's fine. I think it's just me. Sorry, everyone.
That's all right. Well, I'll talk more then. And so I was talking about the associated thing of, okay, you might be saying, yeah, I already sound pretty good. I've got good saxophone sound, but I want to sound like myself. I want to sound distinctive. I want to have a sound of my dreams. Well, then, that's it's all the same thing, but it's different. But then your imagination comes into play, maybe in quite a subconscious way. But now you're focusing, almost meditating on tone quality and comparing how you sound today to how you'd love to sound. And it doesn't matter if you can't put that into words. You just know you want to sound better. You might be able to say warmer, fatter, more upper partials, richer, all those superlatives that we use. But you just know that you're not quite there and you want it to sound better. So you don't start each day, each practice session with obviously a relaxation first and some breathing, but then long tones in octaves, slow scales, melodies, and you're thinking about sound all the time. A long note is like a meditation. It can last so long, 15, 20 seconds, and during that time you're thinking about all kinds of stuff. You're comparing it with how it was last week and how you want it to be and where it's going. And gradually magic happens, and things change. And
you're also getting into the right mindset of going into practice as well.
Yeah, incredibly important. That's to me, that's the golden time. And some days, I play so many instruments, and every day I'll practice on at least 2, probably 3 saxes, and at least 1, probably 2 of the flutes. So that's already 4 or 5 things. And on each one, I'll do some what I would band as tone exercises, different ones. So I've got all kinds up my sleeve. Look, and sometimes I won't get any further than that because I'll have to go to the gig in the old days, or record something, so that my practice will have only been tone exercises. And consequently, I'm not so brilliant at playing really, really, really fast, hard things, but I'd rather sound lovely and sacrifice that, So
I think that's a good compromise tone for speed.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. I'd take it. I don't play saxophone, so yeah, I would definitely. I think if any instruments, I think I would take tone over speed.
Yeah, good. You're on one. And actually, we put Bruce's question here as well, didn't we, in the tone thing? So we could look at that now. The bell notes on tenor. Bell notes means the ones where nearly every hole is closed, tone hole is closed. And especially on tenor, they're really, really hard. And we've all honked them out. And your nightmare is when you see on the part bottom B or a bottom B flat or even the C, PP. No. So just a couple of tips on getting those. And also just to say that it's unbelievably flipping hard, so don't beat yourself up too much if you squash a few. When I was recording that, I don't know how quite you pronounce forest, so I'm going to say the Pavan, yesterday, I hit I hit 1 or 2 too hard, and because I was recording in digital audio workstation, so I was able to go back and either reduce the volume or replay them. And when I did it for my stream, I had to do it in 1 hit because I was videoing it as well. It was really hard. It took me a few goes because I was every now and again I was going, oh, when I meant to. So how to get them more confidently. Really play them from low. A note can come from here, it can come from here, come from here, really low down. And you want it has to come, its birthplace has to be down there. And you have to think it low. So let's pick a C. C. And once again, sing it first. C. That works wonders. And another trick, which I've used on myself and on students, is to fool yourself. So you got your C, but pretend it's here. C. And then go for it. And it's actually higher than you were going for, so it's bound to come out. The very worst, it might come out a touch flat, but you'd rather it come out a touch flat than it come out like this. Which is, that's what you try and avoid, I think, Mr. Bruce Armstrong. So that's, and keep this really loose, because if you're tensing, you can try for a month of Sunday, it's not going to come. So loose like a long-necked goose, like somebody's pulling your jaw down. You're doing it all from there.
Fantastic. Great advice. Fantastic. Okay, so Tony, we're going to move into vibrato. Looking forward to hearing your take on vibrato, Hilary says.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a few we could possibly put together. There's Louise and Mac and Tom as well, perhaps.
Yeah, I had a growling one above them, so maybe.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Oh, yes, the growling one.
Should we do that first, or?
Yes, yeah. I want to hear about the growling.
Keep in sequence, yeah, because otherwise we might never get to growl, and people will want their money back. So, now this is a really harsh question from Mr. AJ Dehane. I'm going to read it out. No, word for word. He said, "How do you throw in a bit of grit while retaining smooth tones so it doesn't all sound too mawkish?" What a terrible word mawkish is. I had to look it up, but oh dear, it made me shiver. It means really insipid and sorry for itself. So yeah, we do not want that, sax brethren and sistren. We do not want to sound mawkish. So, and Peter asked, how do you get the tenor sax to growl? So first of all, I'll show you what a growl is. So that's a good old growl. I mean, it's great for a bit of rock and roll, but it's not for all kinds of things. Just to slip one in, like Plas Johnson does in Pink Panther. You know, it's nearly all just a sort of breathy, beautiful tone, but then it's just one sneaks in there. It's just makes the piece. So to not sound mawkish, you need, like Plas Johnson does, if you've got a fundamentally great foundation to your sound, then you just slip a growl in as and when you feel like it, and your fundamental sound is still going to be great. And you want to get it sounding decent and being confident that you've got a reasonable sax sound before you start doing all the fancy stuff and going for the sky high notes and the growling. But that's only going to take you a few months. It's a pretty easy instrument, not like as hard as the oboe, is it? No.
I haven't played one for years.
So the question, how do you growl? So I'm going to give you a very quick lightning workshop in growling. So I've tried loads of different ways of teaching this over the years, and I've come up with this way. So I think it's my way, but I bet other people have thought of it as well. And think of it as rather than a growl, it's an aggressive hum. So it's Pooh Bear when somebody's nicked his honey. It's I think that helps, but
definitely.
But you don't have to think about that to learn it, and it's a bit of magic and a bit of trust to learn it. So I'm going to give you a B flat concert. So it's the middle C for the tenor. It's your lowest G for the alto, and you're going to tickle that note so you can sing it, and you're going to back to the singing again. We're going to sing it do. So do, do, and then we're going to sing a tone below and a tone above. And we're going to go. Sorry, come away from me when I sing. Do, 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 do. We're just going to do that like idiots. Do, do, do. And But once again, really important that you keep the throat open and you keep nice and loose, which becomes an issue because you're going to stick this in a minute. So you don't want to go do 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 do. You've got to keep going do do do, all warm and lovely and open. So it's like magic. You sing it quite enthusiastically and forcefully. Do 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 do, up and down, up and down. Then you back off a little bit, sing it a little bit more softly. Put the sax in, form the embouchure, the cushion, make a seal, but don't bite. And at this point, this is the hard crossover. And then you sing through the instrument without making any saxy noise. So you're still fingering the note that you're going for. Which sounds absolutely ridiculous. And then you get more and more forceful. So I'm going do 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 do, and the growl just appears, honestly, like magic. It's pure magic. So I'm going to demonstrate. Suddenly it just comes. And there it is. And it feels weird at first. It's all vibrate, makes your lips tingle, and it sounds wrong to you. But honestly, stick with that. Do that every day, and then start forgetting about the do and all that, and just start moving it around the instrument, and you'll be a growler.
Fantastic. And can you do that for? Could you do that for clarinet as well? Then is it the same sort of principle?
I do possess a clarinet, but I'm absolutely rubbish on it, and I've actually never tried. But I bet you could. I would.
Yeah.
I would bet my bottom dollar that it would be the same. I mean, the embouchure is naturally a bit tighter on the clarinet, so you might have just got to loosen off. But I put my life on it; it would work.
Okay, so all you clarinetists out there, have a go and let me know if you manage to growl. Yeah, just work on it for a couple of weeks. Keep the door shut and the windows. Most people wonder what's going on.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that's really great advice for wanting to know how to do that.
It's a very popular technique, and I was really pleased. I only came up with that method about a year ago. Before that, I was telling people to push vans up hills and go. It kind of did work, but this one's more successful. It's great.
You've honed the technique, definitely. Fantastic. Okay, so we'll move on to the vibrato questions then.
Yep.
Okay, so best techniques, exercises. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I was glad that people asked about vibrato because I think it's one of the most important, valuable, beautiful techniques on the sax. And I don't know so much about these days, but nobody ever taught me how to figure it out. And possibly it's still a bit undertaught. I don't know, and underpracticed. So occasionally I get called into colleges to assess people in their final year, for their degrees, and which I don't like. It's a bit, I don't like sitting in judgment. But anyway, people call me, and I suppose because there's nobody else. And occasionally, well, more than occasionally, I hear players are really good, in loads of ways, but the vibrato is not. It's either on or off. I think no. Vibrato is so beautiful. You need to use it more musically. So, once again, I'm going to speed through a vibrato workshop. Is that okay?
That's fine.
So, and then I'll get to you, Tom, in a minute, because you asked about brass instruments. It's a different technique because, well, you can do a vibrato on the sax with your tummy, but 99% of us do it with the chewing of the jaw, up and down with the jaw, and that's the way I'm going to teach you. So it's a wah, 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 chewing the cud. It's a cow enjoying some grass, wah, 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 chewing gum, wah, wah, wah. So start off with a note that's nice and comfortable. Let's just take that same one again, the concert B flat. Play a long tone and just go wah in the middle. So you're going to go wah, like that. So what you're doing in musical terms is flattening the note and then bring it back up to pitch, and you're doing that with your jaw. And when you stick lots of wahs together, you get your vibrato. But so once you've done one wah, then I want you to do two wahs, and then three, and then four, and then start making them a bit more musical. And you can either use a metronome or I just use the sway of my body, and I go sort of side to side. So I go Wow, wow, wow. And then I go, bring it up to 2, wow, 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 3, wow, 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 wow. And once that's going quite well, then you can experiment and do real shallow, subtle ones. Like I'm going to move up a little bit, so I'm going to go to the E in so concert G, middle octave. Then you can do real deep ones. Which is a bit sort of rhythm and blues. And you can do real subtle ones that you can hardly hear. Etc.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels a bit weird and it feels a bit unnatural and you go, this sounds false. But within weeks, you'll just start turning it on and off at will and find that you're pulsing away with the rhythm of the music. And a lovely way to start to feel it work is to play the first line of a song which would be a good vehicle for, in your opinion, for a bit of vib, and just settle on the first note where it would sound lovely in your opinion, which would probably be a long note. And a nice way to use it is to bring it in, not at the beginning. So you go, da, bring it in as the note goes, and just settle on that note and listen to it and say, how's it going? So, for example, and then you say to yourself, oh, yeah, it's working.
Yeah, and you're just drawn in, and
Yeah.
you just want to keep
Such a
on
beautiful
going.
technique. Yeah.
So lovely.
So,
Yeah.
and Tom, the euphonium player, I'm pretty sure that those sort of drills would work for making it shallower and deeper, and for getting the rhythm to change. But actually doing it, I think it's a gut one. But I'd rather you ask your teacher just to absolutely be sure.
But I feel like we've answered Trisha's question about the dynamic control, haven't we? I think that one there.
We sort of have, but
yeah.
I wouldn't mind just saying a little bit more about it.
Okay, that's fine.
Because it's so important, and I do get asked it a lot. You know, other players get asked, "How do you do that jazzy bit?" And you know, how do you get so high? And how do you play it? But people say to me after a gig, "How'd you play so quiet, mate?" And the obvious answer is, it seems dumb, but it's not. Is to practice. And I mean, actually, she said dynamic control, particularly playing soft. And I think a lot of us, accidentally, sometimes without thinking about it, but sometimes because we're conscious of the neighbours, so we don't play loud, and playing soft is really hard. So we end up existing in that narrow dynamic band. And we don't go down there and up there, where it's really exciting up there and it's really beautiful down there. So practice. You know, don't exist in MP to MF. Go P to F. And, you know, for example, when the neighbours and your family are out, then you can roar. And when everybody's in, and if it's getting a bit late, then you can whisper and make a point of doing that and enjoying it and starting to feel how it's working. And, you know, we all probably have done diminuendo, crescendo, or the other way around, crescendo, diminuendo exercises till the cows come home. But, you know, make more of them. Start with breath. And end with breath. I call that my Zen note.
Yeah.
And I know one reason I really wanted to answer this question was I get to get Colin's candle out. My mate Colin is a baritone player, and he made this beautiful candle holder for me. But there's an exercise called the candle breath. Do you do that, Jean?
Haven't recently. I'm always a bit scared of candles in the home. I'm a bit of a fatalist, I think, sometimes.
I've got a fire extinguisher just down there.
Okay, that's a relief.
So I've got loads of breathing exercise up my sleeve, but this is one of the absolute best. And it's not about stamina, it's not about how long you last, but we're going to make the flame flicker and not go out, and keep it flickering so that the breath, so it's just exactly what you need for a soft note. So. And as you're doing that, you're checking for any tension that might have come into your shoulders or your arms or your hands, or anywhere really apart from your diaphragm. You're thinking about, you're kind of bonding with the diaphragm muscle and with the transverse abs, and you're almost picturing that air like it's water. It's moving through the air at this constant speed, and it's just what you need for a soft note. So as you blow, as you're blowing the candle, you're thinking about the note, and then when you blow the note, I'm thinking about the candle and moving. And it just works like magic.
Fantastic.
Oh, nice.
It's such great advice. I'll consider getting some candles.
The opposite of that is a power breath, where you get a sheet of paper, you get up close up to the wall like that, and got a sheet of paper. So this is my imaginary wall, and with a massive, powerful burst of breath, you see how many seconds you can keep that piece of paper there. And honestly, if you do 2 or 3 seconds, you're doing good.
Okay, I'm going to try that.
Yeah, you do 10 of them and it absolutely knackers you, and you feel your diaphragm feels like it's done press-ups. That's what
fantastic.
You need to
well, I definitely need that. Great stuff. Yep. Excellent. Oh, just great tips. This is great. Okay, right. So, well, let's keep moving on. Time checking. So, practicing.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you play about 4 instruments every day. What's practice schedule? And
okay, so I get asked this a lot, and I'm sure some of your other interviewees, I've heard them being asked about that. And so some general tips, I mean, they're obvious, but it doesn't hurt for me to remind you. And that's be structured and be organized, but do allow yourself to have a bit of fun, possibly at the end, a bit of improv, just shut your eyes and go bonkers, or play along with something and backing track, or just put in Spotify on at random, whatever. But at the beginning, be really organized and focused. Always start with some little stretches and feel the breath, even if it's just for 1 minute, but preferably 2 or 3 minutes, and settle yourself. Make sure the mirror's there, make sure you've got something to record yourself on, and make the environment as best you can. I mean, obviously, I've got a lovely place to practice, but half the time I'm practicing in a car or in a corner of dressing rooms or under bridges or very quietly into wardrobes in hotels. But make the best of your environment, and have a plan. And if you don't stick to it, it doesn't matter. But I think a good plan is, well, we're all individual, but what would work for me if I was only playing one instrument and I had, say, 45 minutes an hour, like 5 minutes on my body before I pick the thing up, and then at least 10 minutes doing a variety of tone exercises, and then make sure you change them. So one day I might do step dynamics, quiet, louder, louder, and the next day I might do a bunch of those Zen notes, and then octave long notes are really great because you're starting to hear whether that. Anyway, all that. But so that's your 15 minutes into your routine then, and then the next bit, I would say, technical things. So it might be studies, written studies, or it might be patterns, on the cycle of this, whatever you're working on at the time, but vary that as well, and keep a little sort of auto check system going. Don't allow yourself to start zoning out and be doing things like a parrot. No, nothing against parrots, but bring yourself back to the moment if you find that happening, and then your next thing might be, your half an hour into your 25, half an hour, your scales would fall into that second part as well, and then you work on pieces, repertoire, things that you've got to prepare, or things that you're just enjoying bringing up to scratch and learning. And then either before that or after, you could work on things like your growling and your jaw bending and your what I'd call techniques, your vibrato. And then, if you're working on improvisation, then I always think it's nice to leave that at the end. So that'd be there you go, that's your 45 minutes there and you've had a lovely time. And then make notes, record yourself frequently. It's a harsh thing to do, but it's just so useful. It's just like having a teacher with you. I'm sure you agree. And use the mirror, because if you're starting to go and tense up and squeeze, the mirror will tell you. The mirror's going, no. Chill out.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great stuff. So what about dealing with the neighbours then, without being neighbour conscious?
Yeah, big question. So, I've just been encouraging you, entreating you, begging you to explore the dynamic ranges. So, at least if you have neighbours that you can spot when they're out, you can do your quiet practice, your whispering when they're there, and do your roaring when they're out. But of course, it's not always that easy. You can change your environment a lot in extreme circumstances. Most of you have probably heard of Sax Mutes, the big, horrible, horrendous-looking. So I shouldn't be dissing gear, should I? But white, exaggeratedly large cases, which you put the whole instrument into the case and slip your hands through, and the posh ones have headphones with a bit of reverb on. So you can fit backing tracks to that as well. The less posh ones, you just listen to a slightly muffled saxophone sound.
Like putting a sock in it.
Yeah, but putting a sock in it just only takes about 10% off, if that. But it is worth putting a sock in it. And a sort of more posher way of putting the sock in is make yourself a little cozy, soundproofed corner. I spent, when I lived with mum and dad, when I was practicing flipping 6 hours a day and all this, I played into a wardrobe in the spare bedroom, and over the top of the wardrobe doors opened out, and I put 2 slats of wood, and I put another duvet and a couple of pillows on there, and I filled the wardrobe with the softest, most thickest things I could find, and I hung big thick curtains over the 2 doors, and so I was really enclosed on 1, 2, 3, every side except behind me, and pretty much that cut my sound down by, I would say, 50%, and I wasn't having to put it inside a box. I mean, the Sax Mute will cut it down probably near 80%, and they do work. So in extreme circumstances, there's that. You can make acoustic baffles. Even I made one. I'm the worst at DIY, but just a piece of plywood with some rock wool and some fabric over the top, and then you play into that, and then you've got a transportable, movable kind of wardrobe type thing. And it'll only take 15-20% off, but it's every 15-20% is worth having, so
yeah, sure, definitely.
And then when I'm in Japan on the road, I practice the shakuhachi, and if I can get inside the wardrobe in the hotel room, I always ask for a room on the end of the corridor if possible, for that reason, because then I'm next to the service lift inside the wardrobe, sat like that against the ironing board. But I won't practice the sax in the room in extreme circumstances, so I'll go out and I'll book a karaoke cubicle you can get one for £5 an hour.
Yeah.
Or I'll go under a bridge if I'm near the edge of the town or city, or I'll walk or jog or get a bus, anything but pay for a taxi down to the venue early or on a day off, so I can practice in the dressing room. So the equivalent of that is if you're not out gigging, is go and practice in the car. Drive the car around somewhere that's not outside private houses, or ask the local church or village hall if you can have an hour in there now and again.
Yeah.
So at least you get your loud practice in.
Yeah. Great acoustics.
So important, and a really important question.
Lovely. So, should we talk a bit about improvisation? And we've kind of teetered around improvisation, but You mentioned about sort of playing along with Spotify, so just having a bit of a jam session with that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
my internet. Sorry. You'll find it's me again.
okay. So there were a couple of questions on this, and there's one from F-Frame saying, how can I learn improvisation? And Katie said, as a beginner, familiar with scales and key signatures, but not yet played by ear. So this is about taking the first tentative steps, as you put very succinctly. And once again, it's a huge course, it's a week down in Spain or whatever. But I can usefully give you some advice just in a couple of minutes. And so here I go. Improvisation, it sounds hard and it sounds technical already, and it sounds like you need a book. But actually, what improvisation is, it's making stuff up. That's what it is. If I go... I've just improvised something. I didn't know what I was going to play. I picked the sax up, and it's just like, it's like walking. I took a step, and I thought, oh, where am I going to go now? And I took another step. And that's making it sound simple. It's not necessarily simple, but it's not hard. It's not hard, inverted commas. You don't need lots of information. Really, I never did this with my kids. And I've got 3 and they're all still alive. But I've heard people say, if you chuck them in the swimming pool when they're about 3 or 4 months, they all swim. I never tried it, but it's too late now. but how do you start? You start by playing a note with something, it could be bird song, or it could be the sound of water, but probably it'll be music of some kind. It could be a track that you know, or you could put something on at random, but pick something that's in your kind of, something you like, something that's not really super hard, not a crazy bit of modern jazz. Like a simple pop thing with not many chords in would be my recommendation. And so then, okay, I've got the music, I've got me, I don't know what to do. Play a note. Oh, actually, didn't sound bad. Okay. Or if it did sound bad, then move a semitone down or a semitone up. And I absolutely bet you anything that one will sound better. So then you've got one that it worked. It seemed to fit. You don't know why, you don't know what key it's in, doesn't matter. And then go, oh, okay, now I'm going to take another step. Back, sideways, forwards. Try anything. Up an octave, up a third, the next note in the scale, up or down. And the same process. Does that sound okay? If it does, happy days, you're an improviser already. If it doesn't, try a different one, go down instead. And, make it sound simple, but actually it is simple, but it requires bravery. And it is like that jumping into the pool thing, into the deep end. But it's such fun. And just approach it with an open mind and an open heart, and forget about any notions of it being difficult and it being jazz improvisation or technical, or I don't know much about chords. Doesn't matter. Really, those are the important things. Your ears.
Yeah.
And then it's so exciting. As soon as you get the feel, it's like, oh, this is a magic world I didn't know about. I'm tingling talking about it, because to me it's the most important thing about what I do. I am a maker-upper. That's what I'm hired to do when people hire me. Snakey will make something that will make us sound better, It's like very rare that there's any music there, and people don't bother telling me what key things are in, and I usually don't have to bother in what key things are in either. I'll just quickly have a little fertle around to see roughly what key area I'm in, I suppose, or what note feels like the tonic, and I just go, put the headphones on, and I go, la, 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 la. And if it's good, fine.
I wonder if now might be a good time to perhaps do that one take from the Million Love Songs, because that was an improvisation, wasn't it? Or
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about it again today because you threatened me with it. And I remember this. I remember the session, although it was 26.
It is great.
I remember it was a one take. It might have been. Well, play me a few bars first, just so I can see what key it's in. All right, there we go from the top. I definitely didn't work on it for ages or listen to the whole thing. At the most, I would have listened to the first 8 bars or something. But I think more likely, I had the first. I've already flipping it. It's D flat, but and then I just played what came into my little head.
And is it rhythm or notes? Do you sort of differentiate between the two when you're improvising?
Not at all. I know players that have methods, and more like construct a solo. But honestly, it is as simple as I shut my eyes and blow, and and that's my favourite thing. I'm really just, it's like there's the music and I'm reacting to it, and occasionally, people will, if when you're recording in a commercial situation, and as a producer, he may say, right, I want you to start really quiet, and then you've got 16 bars, so if you kind of peak around the 8th bar, and then I want you to tail in, could you finish on the same note? You get all that kind of thing, and then I have to maybe make a note and remember it. But my favourite thing is oh, yeah, we trust you, Snakey, do what you want, and that's when it goes best, I think, as well. So, you want a million love songs?
Yeah.
But why I started on a harmonic A flat, I have no idea. I mean, it's a pretty hard note. It's off the proper range of the saxophone. And so sometimes when I've been asked to recreate it, I've completely scuffed that first note. It's a horrible note to start on. But I have no idea why I did that. I mean, it just sort of felt good at the time. But, so I'm just going to slightly warm up. Okay, I'll have a go. We're amongst friends, huh?
Absolutely.
Always best to scuff the last note rather than the beginning note.
Oh, that was so yeah. Oh, but just it's great. It's just it hasn't it hasn't changed. That's that sound, that tone. It's so great. Love it. And I'm sure everyone will be thinking the same thing when comes into.
So.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I mean, I think. Do you feel nervous about replaying those things? I mean, this is taking us into those kind of areas, perhaps.
The nerves thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Katie said that was amazing.
Oh. Yeah, we've got three questions on nerves, haven't we? Advice on how to cope with or manage performance anxiety, how to beat performance nerves. And then Marcus asked, that was Sarah and Sue. Marcus asked, does plan/comprehensive practice/preparation, in your opinion, help to combat pre-performance nerves? And I mean, the answer to that is definitely yes, but I'll answer it in a more constructive and longer way. And I think you just asked me, Jean, whether I get nervous. And yes, I do, but not cripplingly. And I think it's, to me, it would be unnatural for any performing musician, not to get some form of nerves, whether you call it butterflies or just a little bit of anxiety, or just I'm just a little bit worried. To me, to feel nothing like that would be unnatural, and I don't think I know anybody who just goes, yeah. Oh, except for guys and girls who are doing a gig that they don't really want to do, and they do it every week. That's a different thing, and when you can do it in your sleep. But I've never done anything like that, so there's always a degree of nerves, and it could be to do with like we have in this situation, Jean, where I think something could go wrong with the internet, or my mic could suddenly stop working. I mean, those can introduce a little bit of tension. I mean, we're so lucky that we're able to communicate in this way, but things do go
Absolutely.
wrong. Like especially when up here in North Lincolnshire, when there's a thunderstorm, quite often the internet goes off. So, and those are things you can't do anything about, but they still can cause anxiety. But and so a few things to say about this. And once again, not quite often, but I have delivered entire afternoon, half-day workshops on this subject. It's a massive subject, and I've met handfuls of people who this has prevented them from having the career that they would love to have, and that is tragic. And that's one reason why I put together a whole presentation and read and researched how can I help these people, because I want them to experience this joy that is there to be had. And so just 2 or 3 things for today. I mean, Marcus is absolutely spot on there, and I think number one for me and for many people is be as prepared as you possibly can be, and then prepare a bit more as well, because when the spotlights go on and the band strikes up, things will suddenly sound a bit different, and whoa, I miss my, we've all been there, miss my flipping cue, and it's live telly. I've done that, I've done it all, and a common question is, and I heard some of your other people being asked this, do you ever make mistakes? Flipping out, only every day. Everything I've played today I've had, I'd call them mistakes, things where I was a bit away from the other guy in the Million Love Songs. I kind of cracked that last high concert A flat, but I don't care really. I do care, but it's not that I don't care. It doesn't spoil it for me. And I don't mind mistakes. I think I couldn't do what I do if I couldn't tolerate mistakes. So you've got to learn to love them, smile through them. That's one of my pieces of advice is smile. And the whole world, no. Smile, and it's a cheerer-upper. Immediately you feel better if you smile. Smile at one of your fellow musicians. It's like magic. It really is. Because the thing is, you tend to look down and you feel the anxiety coming. And so smile. I've ignored my notes, but I'm going to go back to my notes because I made some notes on this. So hopefully you agree with me that it's good and natural in many ways to have them and to embrace them and accept that they're going to be there. It wouldn't be normal not to have. And, stars, I work with big stars, and I'm not going to name names, but a lot of them suffer with nerves, but not to the extent that it kills their career, but some of them, it's a lot worse than mine. And flipping out, people are telling them every day how brilliant they are, and it doesn't necessarily help, So you're not alone. And, as Marcus said, be as prepared as you possibly can be. But of course we can't.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, you struggling, or am I struggling?
Yeah, my Wi-Fi just dropped out, but I think we're back on again. So,
okay.
Yep. Sorry. Carry on.
No, okay, I'll carry on. So, if we can't always be super prepared, and that may not sort it out anyway. So here's, in no particular order, if you can possibly detach yourself from the situation. It's like a producer once told me, I was getting a bit stressed, things that weren't working. He says, okay, detach yourself, jump out of your own skin, look at yourself and say, what advice could I give him? Looking at him, all right, I can see already his shoulders are up. Daft things like that, but that might help. And then you can say to yourself, hang on a minute, it's not life and death. What's the worst that can happen? The worst can happen is I mess up, but I'll find my way back somehow. Nobody's going to die, and everybody's done it. I'm not alone, and I'll have another chance to redeem myself. You could say that. And I think something that helps, I think we're all passionate about music. Music is the thing. It's not about us. It's not about whether we slip on a banana skin or our hair's a mess or whether, our makeup's not right. It's about the music. The music flows through us, and it's more important than we are as individuals. So that can help. It takes the pressure off you and puts the music puts the pressure or the importance back onto the music, which is a collective thing. We're part of the cogs that's going to make that music sound great. And on a physical level, we can do a lot. And I watched the presentation that you did with Andrew Mariner, a fantastic clarinet player. And I wrote this down because I just thought it's so fantastic. I mean, it's the same kind of thing that I'm saying, but he said it better. So he said, nerves can affect our sound as wind instrument players or singers. You know, when you start to hear in your voice like a tremor that you don't want. It's not a vibrato, it's a tremor, and we don't want that. And it makes our sound go weak, and we start to suspect that others can hear from our sound and know that we're nervous, and then it perpetuates itself. So to recover from that fluttery nervous thing, you know, what happens then is we're breathing higher and higher and our shoulders are coming up. So be conscious of that and do that thing. Take it all down, drop your shoulders, breathe from low, and put more air through the instrument, and that'll sort it out. That'll sort that fluttery tremolo thing out, and just breathing will make you feel better. And, you know, on that subject, if you possibly can, and I've done this when I've acted as musical director, I've gone into the artist's dressing room and said, right, we're just going to take a few long breaths together, you know, ignore any taps on the door. Okay, together. And so unbelievable. You know, a physical thing like that just works like magic. And the candle breath that we did half an hour ago, perfect. Because to do that, and it's while you're doing that, you're just thinking, oh, why was my arm like that? Relax, relax. So, I don't know. I hope there's something in there that...
Oh, yeah, very much so. I'm still going to be phoning PlusNet tomorrow, though, and saying, sort out my Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have a candle to hand. In fact, I was on hold yesterday to an energy supplier, and I was improvising for half an hour over their hold music because I was next to the piano. So, yeah, that calmed me down, and then they cut me off at the end of the half an hour. So,
I can't believe you did that. Honestly, guess what I did this morning? I was on the phone to First Direct, and I was holding, and I recorded a little bit because I started just doodling away.
We're still busy talking to other customers.
We'll do our best. That was me yesterday.
Yeah, I've spent
Probably not so nice as yours.
Because when you know that you're going to be put on hold, it's always best to take an instrument with you, isn't it? I will do.
Definitely. Okay.
So,
I'm worried that one thing at a time, and I'm really worried about my internet. So I'm going to try and move through a little bit quicker. So I'm just because I just don't want it to drop off.
Okay. So shall I lead the bit about the equipment and stuff?
So yes, yeah, definitely.
Yep. Okay. So many people have asked about mouthpieces and reeds and saxophones, and so the first question was about mouthpieces from John. Now, kind of sadly, I have a main mouthpiece and a backup one, and both the manufacturers of those have died because they were both custom made. And so I'll tell you what they are, but you can't get them, so that's a bit frustrating. But my main mouthpieces were made by a guy called Ron Coelho, and his company was called RPC, and it was just him. And sadly, he's no longer with us. But that's what I have on all the horns is RPC. Reeds, Diodario, Select Jazz, filed. And the saxophones, of course, and Yanagisawa helped us put this together. My horns are Yanagisawa, and I absolutely love them to bits. And I never thought I'd play anything but vintage horns, old Selmer Mark 6s and Bouchers. And somebody put a Yanagisawa curved soprano into my hand 20 odd years ago, and I went, flipping heck, it's just as good, if not better, and more reliable. So mouthpieces, I'm sure in John Packer, well, I know they've got good variety. You want to try Diodario, try Yanagisawa, try Van Doren, Otto Link, and just find what suits you. Dave asked, do I change my setup, mouthpieces and reeds, depending on the sound that I've been asked to play? No, and I really encourage others not to. Although, obviously, if it works for you, it works for you. But my advice is try and find something that is workable, it's comfortable, it's neutral. In other words, I want something that doesn't put brightness or warmth. I want to put my own sound through what I'm playing. So same with a microphone. I don't want it to add top or bottom. I want it to allow me to sound like me. So I find it much better to find one thing and stick to it. It's much safer as well. and you as a player, you can make it whisper or roar or growl or be sweet. So, question about the curved soprano as opposed to the straight one. I did used to play both. I slightly favour the curved one. It looks sweet, and I like the fact that it's like that and not like that, and it just sounds that bit closer to an alto and slightly less of the what you might call a nasal or a Eastern quality. Although I do love that as well, but I thought I'd keep life simple and just play the curved one. Would I recommend synthetic reeds? And Julie asked that, and then Marilyn said, what's your opinion of Fibrocell, which is a make of synthetic reeds? And for many, many years, I was a complete cane snob, and I would belittle people that said, what do you think about plastic reeds? I say, mate, it's never going to be as good as cane. But recently, since lockdown, in fact, many students said, "Be snaky boy, you want to be trying these Legers?" I'm like, no, okay, so I bought one mug. I went out and bought one, but actually, it's pretty good. And so I love my cane, love the Diodarios, really love them. That's the best for me. I tried everything, but I will keep, just to shut you lot up, I'm going to keep trying the Leger, because imagine what time you'd regain if you didn't have to go 15 reeds stuck to the window in the morning and going through them and putting 1 and 2 on, and then number 1 would be great, and then by lunchtime it sort of feels a bit different. So I've got an open mind about all that. The Fibrocell, I have got a couple kicking around, but they're really old. So, they certainly worked. So it's like anything, try them. But then try not to be constantly changing, try and settle on something, and ask me again in 6 months' time. There's a question about travelling with your sax. How do you travel with your sax when on tour? Nervously. It's a real problem. And find out the airline policy. Some of them have something in the small print that says musicians can take their instruments on. If you can find that printed out. And then you kind of have to take a view. What I quite often do is hide my sax at check-in and then appear with it at the gate and then smile and hope that I'm allowed on with it. The worst is that it's taken off you and put on the hold then, but at least it hasn't gone down the conveyor belt and everything. But it's a problem. With an alto, it's not so bad because you can actually argue that it's just about hand luggage sized or repack it into the hand luggage sized case. But you've got to take a view. And I never bought a seat for instruments, and I have had instruments suffer damage. You really got to take a view and obviously have a good case. But if you're going to try and sling it over your shoulder and take it on, then a shaped travel case is better than the big old box that it came in. So I haven't got the answer. There isn't one definitive answer. But you can be a bit sneaky and smile and not let them see it when you check in. That's what I do. That's kind of the end. And we had some miscellaneous ones about,
Yeah, so thanks. Yeah, well, about what you've been up to, and this is a good opportunity for you to talk about your sessions that you've been running on YouTube, the potential to holiday in Spain, but not this year, unfortunately.
Well, for years, many years, I absolutely love teaching. I love teaching one-on-one. I love going into primary schools. I've kept that up to some degree. But I've had to stop teaching because I'm just too busy. I'm traveling all the time, and what time I've got at home I want to practice and write and record. But so lockdown has given me time to start teaching a little bit one-on-one again. And I've become a live streamer, a little mini YouTuber. So I stream live concerts every Saturday and Sunday. You can find all this on my website. And honestly, since March, I've been thinking so hard about teaching. I've delivered 20 saxophone clinics, live streamed as well. Thinking about learning and thinking about the things we've been talking about today, getting the information across. So I've absolutely determined, in fact, I've started doing what I've been asked to do for decades and begged to do and sort of had the intention. I think it'd be a great idea, but I haven't got time. But now I'm putting together a series of video tutorials and PDFs and backing tracks. So that's a bit of a sort of snaky Sax Academy or whatever that people are going to be able to subscribe to for less than the price of a bottle of whiskey or whatever. I've got to sort all that out. But once again, you can register your interest in that on the website. And the world has become such a small place. I just want to spread the love of sax,
Yeah, musicians have become so accessible. So, if it hadn't been for the virus, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Exactly.
And perhaps, you won't be getting the viewers and people coming to download your music and have lessons with you. This wouldn't have happened. So we have to keep finding those reasons to be grateful, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I mean, I've lost my gigs, I've lost my income,
yeah.
but great things have happened, like this, and it's been good. Lots of good things have happened.
So will you be considering some afternoons or gigs as you're a professional and it's legal?
Yeah, I'm really hoping that I've got my first outdoor gig this Sunday. I mean, it sold out so quickly with the local promoters' own mailing list that I never even got to announce it before it was sold out. So I feel a bit bad about that, but excited to be actually doing a gig again. And for my Sunday live stream, which I'm putting back to 8 o'clock this week, I'm going to have another musician in here, just there beside me. And that'll be the first time. So that day will be the first time that I've made music with another person in the room for 5 months. I'm really excited about that. And I just hope more comes of it,
I'm sure it will. Well, yeah, it'll be super.
Yeah.
So last few. So Daniel, what piece of advice would you give to your younger self that could have helped your career?
Okay, great question. And I would say to my younger self, get more lessons, organize your practice better, and on a sort of personal level, be braver in seizing and creating opportunities, because I was quite shy and lacking in confidence. I had that imposter syndrome that you talked about with Christopher Bill the other day. We all think we're rubbish. And so I never pushed myself. And I would say to my younger self, go on, be a bit braver. Go on, ask people, could I play with you? And so those are the things I would say.
Great. Yeah, that's great advice. Definitely. So if you had only 10 minutes left to play ever again, which saxophone would you choose and what would you play?
Okay, great question. But it's quite easy, that one, because I've already said that the tenor is my number one, just marginally. So I'll take that beautiful tenor. And I'd want to fill the whole 10 minutes. And so I'd find an inspirational space, because space is so important. Like a lake in a valley, or there's a beautiful church in Louth, which is near me, it's a church, but it's cathedral sort of size, St. James. And I'd go in there and I would just put the timer on and spend that whole 10 minutes just playing my little heart out. And I'd start by improvising, and maybe a soul tune would come, or one of my own melodies like the one I kicked off with tonight would pop out. And I'd just play my little heart out until somebody said, right, that's it, stop.
I wanted to ask about how you compose meditation music.
Oh, yeah, and I think Andrew Ford asked that as well.
Yeah.
And, great question again, but really, just like anything else, and just the melodies pop into my mind, nearly always inspired by something. I mean, this morning I only recorded it for fun because we were going to talk about it tonight. But, sometimes I'll record sitting outside when the wind is going through the bamboo leaves, or in a forest. The other day I got up and horrendously early and recorded the whole of the Dawn chorus, which is about an hour and a half. And then I just played to that with the headphones on. And really, I don't make any distinction between improvising and composing, because improvising is instant composition. So once I had an hour and a half of me noodling away to the Dawn chorus, and I went through it and picked my favorite bits, and I didn't do anything with that apart from use it on a live stream. But it might be that a piece or even two pieces for the next album will come from an experience like that. And then the tune off many of the tunes off the album that we've been talking about started with me just come out with a melody, and it's just like you're singing, just like you're going la la la, but you're playing a note, and often it's influenced by the instrument that I'm holding in my hand. I play a note, and I want to go. I don't know why I want to do that, but I do. And then I've got. And then I've got and the melodies come, and then I'll give it to my keyboard player friend. I'll say, "Come on, mate, what can you do with that?" And he'll forget about it. And a month later, he'll send back this thing, and it'll be, "Oh, I forgot about that. That's beautiful."
Fantastic. Would you like to perhaps finish with playing something from the album?
If you've got time, I'd love to. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think that'd be a lovely way to finish.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Jean, for organising it and all the work that you've done, and thanks everybody for absolutely brilliant questions, and thanks to John Packer and Yannick Sawa for helping to just make it happen. It's great. What an experience.
It's great. Thank you.
Okay, so this is actually the last track on the album, and it's called In Memory, and this is definitely one where I just came up with this melody and gave it to a keyboard player friend called Guy Allison, so it became a co-write, and it's moody and broody, and goes like this.
Well, that was very relaxing. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. It was such a great way to finish. That's lovely. So I'm going to just sort of wrap it now. Yeah. Oh, lots of lovely comments. Thank you, everybody. I know that many of you watching this evening are not saxophonists, and indeed in lots of our previous sessions, many viewers haven't played the same instruments as our guests. But isn't it amazing how much you can still learn and how similar the themes are? Tone, breathing, confidence, high notes, low notes. I continue to be inspired and grow by speaking to musicians, and so long may it continue. Snake, I knew you'd have lots of great advice to improve ability, but getting your insight into nerves and mindfulness and just your calm attitude and your softly spoken, it's definitely given us much to think about. So a huge thank you for giving us your time so generously and bringing so much needed calm to this house at the start of the holidays. I've loved every minute, and I'm so sorry about my internet tonight. It's been shocking, but I'm trying to be calm.
I don't think it spoil things, and
no, I think everyone else has managed to hear you
yeah.
perfectly, so that's been wonderful.
Well,
So
I've
to
loved it too,
everyone,
so thank you.
thank you. To everyone to everyone that's watched on Zoom or on Facebook, thank you. Your support really does mean that we can continue to hold these events. So if you've enjoyed tonight, please tell me and write a comment, email me, jean@johnpacker.co.uk, like or share the video on Facebook. You can actually catch up with all our previous sessions on our YouTube page as well as our Facebook page. I've had the privilege to speak to Yamaha artists and BBC Young Musician finalists Matilda Lloyd and Rob Burton, two young musicians, the legend Dennis Wick, buffet clarinet artist and college music professor Andrew Mariner, and 2 weeks ago American YouTube trombone sensation Christopher Bill. And I am delighted to say that there are plans in place for more exciting guests. However, I'm going to take a little break in August while we all attempt something like a summer holiday. I obviously love speaking to musicians. It's been a really growth experience for me. I didn't have the confidence to do this at the start of lockdown, and and I'm growing, and I'm I'm enjoying it more and more. So perhaps people who are watching would be interested in hearing from other people who work in other areas of the music industry. If you've got any ideas, anyone you would like to speak to, then please do let me know. I do take all your suggestions on board. And so I can't go without finally saying a final big thanks to Barnes & Mullins, the UK supplier of Yanagisawa saxes, for sponsoring tonight's event. Without them, tonight really wouldn't have taken place. And as Snake mentioned earlier, we do hold a good selection of Yanagisawa saxes and their mouthpieces, and not to mention the reeds and ligatures, etc. that Snake uses. I'm not sure if we do the giant Sax Mutes. I think we just have something that you stick in the bell. So a final reminder that we do still have free delivery at John Packer. So if it's not essential, you don't have to visit us. We can send anything out to you. And that really is it. I hope you all enjoy a very pleasant summer in the very best of health. Best wishes with your online session, Snake. I hope the gig at the weekend goes really well, and I hope all your viewers will join me again soon. So good night, stay safe, and keep making and enjoying your music. Take care, everybody. Thank you very much. Bye.